Jimmy and JoAnne, there's so much going on in the North Africa, Middle East region. You guys are our lifeline to the Libyan tribes. How are you doing tonight?
We're
Putting
doing
one
okay.
foot after the other.
I heard there's another hurricane headed towards the Gulf of Mexico.
There is, but it's going to turn and go across Louisiana and up over Georgia. It's going to do a U-turn.
Oh,
That's what they said.
wow.
But it's, yeah, but it's, Jason, it may be a one. It's mostly a tropical storm.
Huh.
It hasn't gotten
In the meantime, right now I'm out burning in the new generator, getting the rings and everything set just in case. You have to burn them in for 5 to 8 hours to get all the mechanical parts seated.
We had some of our angels come together and get us a new generator so we can have water the next hurricane comes. The power goes out.
That's great. And I want to make sure that people know that they can sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty. We're going to be starting the sponsor exclusive show in just about 30 minutes. And there's a lot to talk about today. You guys are in touch regularly with the elders of the Libyan tribes, and there's so much going on over there in terms of Turkey intervening. There's now been further escalation between Turkey and Greece. What can you guys tell us about the latest news in the region and what we're going to be talking about later tonight?
Well, it's kind of like what's going on here. The people are so disgusted in Libya because UN installed a government. That government's been raping the country, not done anything for the people. No water, no power, no utilities or anything, and no food. And then the elected government on the other side, they're not doing anything. A lot of them are speechifying. They've raised their salaries. People don't have water. They don't have electricity. And both sides, the legitimate government in Tobruk and the phony government in Tripoli, are doing nothing for the people. So the people are wanting to throw them all out.
They're being political. We're having discussions about how we're going to have peace in the country, but the infrastructure's never been rebuilt since NATO blew it up. And, that just continually goes on, and they've got militias and mercenaries there that tear apart. Every time they try to rebuild something, they go in and blow it up or break it, and they don't have any security in the country. The food won't come in, the medicine won't come in.
And France and the US and Egypt and Greece and everybody says, we're going to make sure that Turkey doesn't bring any more mercenaries into Libya. They're not stopping anything. No. One day Turkey had 7 warships roll into Libya.
Saturday, I think I spoke to the tribes, and they said there were 2 or 3 big planes that came in from Turkey bringing in militias or mercenaries and weapons. Wow. Landing in Misra. Nobody's stopping them, and yet the UN lady who supposedly represents the Libyan mission is speaking to the guy who's the head of Project Irene. That's the EU thing that's supposed to stop all this, and telling him what a great job he's doing.
He's Muslim Brotherhood.
I mean, this is
disingenuous.
It's like, let's see, your neighbor's house is on fire, but you're doing a great job in this neighborhood, making sure everybody's secure.
And AFRICOM, U.S. has military control of all of Africa, and the leader of AFRICOM says, "Oh, Turkey is a destabilizing force in Libya. It's really not helping the situation in Libya. Why in the hell don't they blow Turkey out of the tub?" But see, Turkey has been sanctioned now by the Security Council and other members in the UN, but Turkey just keeps rolling right along. And it's so bad, and we'll get into that later, you can't have warring going on in half a dozen countries like Turkey is without having deep, deep, deep pockets. And unfortunately, the Khazarian mafia does not have a printing press in Turkey, so Turkey's not able to print their own money to finance all this crap. So they have been rated at a B1 maybe. Now they've been downgraded to B2. But if you really look at the financial situation of Turkey, they should be X. They're so far in debt. I mean, they
is X a real one, Jimmy? What's the lowest it can be?
No. It's
no. Moody's said that there's no way Turkey will ever catch up or pay their debt, and they continue to dig the hole deeper by going into these countries and spending more on military and this continual
and see, Libya's passed on over $20 billion to Erdogan. So Libya's financing the invasion of Libya.
Well, that's because Erdogan's working with the Muslim Brotherhood, who are the unelected government in Tripoli. Anyway, Greece is, of course, angry at Turkey because Erdogan made an illegitimate agreement with the illegitimate guy in Tripoli, saying that he had control over all the Mediterranean water. And of course, Cairo and all of them said, no, you don't. And so he's out there trying to drill in the water of Greece and Cyprus for oil because he needs oil to pay for his bills. And now Greece has shut their borders to Turkey. And so Turkey moved a bunch of tanks to the border to start some kind of something. And now the U.S. is having war games with Greece on the other side of, the line there. And there is a senator that came out and said it may be that the United States is going to leave Turkey as their partner, if you will, their proxy army in Syria. Their attack dog, and turn to Greece because Turkey is now doing some things against the U.S. in Syria. They're going to shut down some airports or do some things and not what the U.S. wants. And they're going to go, I know what their final goal is, to take that Syrian oil that Trump is taking. So they're fighting over oil, Turkey and the United States, not even their oil. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. And Donald Trump has said a lot of stuff about the oil there. What do we think the United States has planned for Syrian oil?
Well, the U.S. is selling it.
They're selling it.
They're stealing it. They are violating international law. We've got a link to that in our discussion in the paid program today. But the U.S. is absolutely violating international law.
Why doesn't Turkey just come to Texas and take our oil and just sell it and be the same thing?
It's absolutely illegal.
I think they'd be in for something if they came to Texas and tried to take anything. You sent me the video of a guy walking into the post office trying to rob it. The dude standing next to him shot him right in the head.
Yep. Yeah. That's right. Not going to get away with it in Texas.
Hey, that eliminates the trial, the expensive cost of the prison and all that stuff, Cost 12
Texas
cents
are starting to stand up. They defunded the police, half or 3/4 of it. The funding for the police in Austin. Austin was taken over by a bunch of Californiaites, and so the police, the governor's is going to take over. He said the security of Austin. We'll see if that happens. But the police have put up 2 giant billboards that says "Enter at your own risk." There is no security. There is no security here. Yep, enter at your own risk.
Holy cow! I don't believe that. I was talking to Alex Jones. He was on the show last week, and I asked him, because we've heard so many Californians are moving. Look at that. Warning, Austin police defunded. Enter at your own risk. Wow. That's amazing.
Well, we've got
That's good advice.
We've got Adolph Abbott running Texas. And he's turned out to be such a criminal.
He's sinking down the hole, though. He's in trouble. He's in trouble.
And listen, this bastard was a Supreme Court judge in Texas.
So he
knows the law. He knows the Constitution. But he's been bought off. Every time he put forward one of these programs about anything to do with COVID, a big slush fund was sent to him to do projects in Texas. Of course, no oversight. So all the projects that was being paid for out of D.C., in this slush money he got, of course, his cousins, uncles, aunts, and everybody are doing these projects nobody's ever heard of.
How
no
much
oversight.
does it cost if you want to meet with him?
Oh, and he's now charging $50,000 a head. If you want to meet with him, he's such a busy guy, you got to pay $50,000.
Wait a minute now. The governor of Texas is charging people? How is that legal? That's selling influence, isn't it?
It's not legal.
Yeah.
There's so many lawsuits against so many governors now in so many states. It's a huge number.
We've got that in the program. We've got a list of every lawsuit. It's an unprecedented amount of lawsuits being filed on governors, cities, counties. It's 3 or 4 pages. It'll be on the paid program. And the attorneys that are doing all these lawsuits said it's unprecedented. They have 100 cases a day. They're receiving requests.
Wow.
To bring these lawsuits forward, and it's amazing. The whole country is trying to legitimately quell the overreach of all these politicians.
The fake vid.
Let me tell you something. The problem is we're reacting to the problem, and what we've got to do is we've got to go take it off at the head. You stop the problem, and all these things are going to go away. But you can't go down here at the bottom of the rung and clean the garbage off the streets. You've got to stop the problem of the garbage getting into the street. So all these politicians and all these criminals, they have to be stopped. That's the easy way to do it. However, they've got this military hammer on everybody, and they've got all this co-opted police and these UN white hats and blue hats. But for all of us, the only thing we can do and hope to have any outcome that is satisfactory is stop the problem. Don't react to it. Stop the problem.
It's like if you have a malignant mole on your arm, you just put a Band-Aid on it. It doesn't make the malignancy stop.
Right.
Don't see it anymore.
You have to cut it off. You have to take it out. And there's a lady, Shelley Luther. She was the lady who went against. She opened her hair salon.
Yeah.
And the judge threw her in jail for that. And there was a big thing in Texas. She's the only person to ever have stopped Abbott on 2 of his things.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she is running for office, and she is a great lady. We're going to talk about her on our show tonight.
She was a teacher before they said, "What do you know about running politics?" She said, "I was a teacher for a long time."
She said, "I was a teacher for 13 years." And she said, "Listen, the guy I'm running against has been 8 years in the Senate, has never done one thing for Texas. And when Abbott said put masks on, he was behind it. When Abbott said shut down the business, he was behind it. When Abbott said, so she's been endorsed by all kinds of people. The police have endorsed her. Senators have endorsed her. All kinds of people have endorsed her.
She's really well spoken.
She's well spoken. She said it's time for the people to stand up and take back our government.
Now, just a little news for you guys. Your Skype connection was just downgraded. It looked like 2 notches when you started talking about this. I think that Shelley Luther running for Texas Senate is fantastic, because what's happening now is, I fully agree with what you both were saying, that we need to take control of this, but not in the way that Antifa and rioters and crazy people are burning things down. This woman, Shelley Luther, is a role model for all citizens. And there's something very strange going on with these hair salons. It occurred to me that this is a sector where, I don't have any business data in front of me, but it seems to me most hair salons, most barbershops, they're privately owned businesses. We do have Supercuts and a couple of franchise type things, but most people go to a barber or a hair salon because they like the person there, and it's not easily franchised, and it's a sector of small business that's been hit really hard. As I walk around the city, I see a lot of hair salons, barbershops out of business. I've spoken a lot about my friend who came here from France, started his own business. He's had it going for 20-something years, and he's in real serious financial trouble. So Shelley Luther was kind of the tip of the spear on this thing, and it's good to see her standing up like this, hopefully inspiring other citizens to do the same.
Jason, let's go back 150 years or so in this country, and the people had their conversations, and they had the communion of the cities and towns and everything. We're in the hardware stores and in the barbershops. That's where it happened. And then that transitions. Potbelly stove's no longer in the barbershop. In the hardware store. The barbershop's been streamlined. The women have their place.
Tea shops.
Tea shops and beauty salons and stuff like that. What we're being dehumanized. We're covering up our face. We're not going to talk to anybody. We can't meet with anybody.
They've closed all bars and pubs, if you will. Well, we want to call them bars here, but they're same as English pubs, where they have music and people go and they talk and enjoy their friendships. Sometimes they have a hamburger, and stuff. They've closed them all. There's a bunch of them in Texas that are open anyway and are fighting against.
And this is proven to be a hoax. The Parkland Hospital, where JFK was taken after he was shot, Parkland Hospital closed down their COVID wing because they had not a patient. Have not had a patient in
close
weeks.
it down because there's nobody there.
So, let's get to the truth about this. Let's go to what the problem is. Let's cure the problem. Instead of reacting to it, let's act to it.
Yeah, and they know the numbers are all phony now. They know that. They know the tests have been contaminated. They know that they're testing for DNA. They're not testing for viruses. They know all this, yet they continue. And the interesting thing that everybody's talking about, Jason, is, you've got all these small businesses shut down, yet Walmart's open, big stores are open, Target's open, liquor stores are open. What, people have to wake up and say, this is an absolute scam.
Something's wrong,
Yeah, I mean, here's an article. This is coming from an NBC affiliate in Dallas, Fort Worth, September 9th. It's a few days ago. Parkland Hospital closes COVID-19 unit due to recent drop in numbers. Yet the idiot in Albany every day is tweeting, wear a mask. You know, it's like, dude, don't you have something to do? It's like you're tweeting more frequently than Alyssa Milano, who is like a washed up actress sitting around at home. He's the governor. He should be busy, not tweeting nonsense.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. We have a lot of brain dead people up in the political.
We don't have any legitimate political leaders. We've got a bunch of bought, paid for traitors.
Well, and they like the low IQ ones because they can really control them. You know, the ones that just want to go have a drink or do some cocaine or sit on a yacht, fine. You know, look at Joe Biden. What's he ever done? What's he ever done? Nothing. He's been a politician for all his life. He's never done anything.
Look at your city, Jason. Look at the commerce that used to go on in New York. It was the most powerful city really in the world. Tokyo kind of ran in there, London City, but New York was the hammer. And all of a sudden you look around New York. When you walk around New York, it's a ghost town. And every day it looks a little bit more decrepit. It's going to look like Detroit and some of the other Democrat cities pretty quick.
It's really bad.
Yeah, it's sad.
It is sad. I hope that things will turn around, and I remain hopeful. It does feel in many regards like we're close to a tipping point. That's what we've titled the show today. I want to, of course, remind people, there's a lot of people probably watching for the first time. Maybe they haven't seen Jimmy and JoAnne before. You know, I've recently added the really great new feature where people can watch our live streams on crowdsourcethetruth.com. So you can see we've got the live stream going with the chat. I also launched the Crowdsource the Truth Counter Lawfare Fund, which is going to allow people to sponsor the show in a variety of new ways. I've been telling people how the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences has initiated a lawsuit against my corporation. I believe because they think I don't have enough money to hire a lawyer and I can't defend a corporation pro se in New York. So hopefully people will sponsor the show and help me address the various expenses that are involved in bringing this show to you. But it's really important to me that people sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne by going to patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty. You can read all about Jimmy and JoAnne and their latest updates on their free website, LibyanWarTheTruth.com. People who sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne on Patreon can get free shipping when they purchase the Escape from Al-Qaeda DVD. And you know, there's been a lot more talk about DVDs lately because with all the banning that's going on online, I think most people still have a DVD player somewhere, even though you're not really buying DVDs that much. It's a good way to share and view information like this because there's a lot of people who don't want us talking about these kinds of things or broadcasting these things on YouTube and elsewhere. So this is kind of almost a time capsule of your journey in Libya.
Yeah, and people can play it on their computer, Jason. If you have any kind of optical reader on your computer, you can play it because there's always a DVD program on a computer that'll play that. So you don't have to have a DVD player.
Good point. And some people can buy it just to support Jimmy and JoAnne. We've got a few minutes more here on YouTube before we transition over to the sponsor-exclusive segment on Patreon and Subscribestar. JoAnne, do you want to give us some insight as to what we're going to be covering tonight and some of the things that are happening in North Africa and the Middle East?
We're going to talk about Libya. We're going to talk about the politics that's going on inside Libya right now and the protesting that's going on. People have taken to the streets all over Libya. I think it was Saturday, they were burning tires in the streets in Benghazi, and they're saying they want all the government gone. They don't care if it's a government in some little city. They want every government gone, and they want an election in the country, and they want a real government. So
they want an election now.
They want right now. They don't want to wait
18 months.
The UN is suggesting they wait 18 months. They were supposed to have an election in 2017. But the UN appointed government has never done anything they agreed to. And they just keep continuing on. And the Tobruk government, the House of Representatives there, that they have a government they have a prime minister Altini is his name, and they don't do anything either. The government part of their House of Representatives resigned, but they sort of resigned. They gave some conditions. And so everybody's playing politics. Everybody. They all want to keep their, as the tribes told me, they want to keep their chairs.
Because
that's their word. That means they want to keep their position.
The U.S. came in and instructed this elected bunch of guys about what they should do to establish themselves, pay themselves big salaries, expense accounts. The government needs to set up a house in a foreign country for them just in case. And so they've got these huge salaries with all these benefits, and they sit on their thumb and they do nothing. In the meantime, you know, they're like $12,000 to $20,000 a month plus all these benefits, and a teacher's getting paid $90 a month, and a teacher has to wait for their money. Yeah. So they corrupted the elected government. The criminal government on the other side that controls the bank accounts has stolen billions, and people in Libya are wishing in one hand and defecating in the other, and only one hand's filling out.
That's a phrase I learned from Jimmy. You know, I also want to point out that for the past several weeks, Jimmy and JoAnne have been aggregating news from sources that are specific to Libya and the surrounding areas, in addition to compiling their own original reports that people can read on LibyanWarTheTruth.com. The compilation and news aggregation report is available exclusively to sponsors of Jimmy and JoAnne on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty. We're going to be going through each story on the sponsor exclusive show, but for people who want to follow along or download the report and go in depth, it's really important that people sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne. I really try to encourage people to sponsor all the co-hosts on Crowdsource the Truth. And you know, this direct to viewer sponsorship is an idea that is disruptive to the traditional broadcast industry. They like it much better when big corporations pay for the cost of producing the shows and paying the fancy suits that deliver the news. They like that because then big corporations can make sure that everybody stays in line and that you buy their products, and it's this sort of mechanism of control. And it creates this illusion that what you're getting is free. A lot of people want us to produce these shows for free on YouTube, but they aren't free. What you're doing is your watch time is benefiting the advertisers who benefit Google, who increase their power and increase their control over everyone, and then they can do things like strike videos and remove information that they don't want people to see. So I hope that people understand that what we're doing here is trying to change the paradigm of how people consume and pay for the news that they get. It's a much more fair system that can basically guarantee that you're not having these corrupt corporations getting in between you and the information that you want.
Right, and it's not very much money. It's as little as a cup of coffee or less.
Right.
You know, every month.
Also, I want everybody that's on YouTube. We're going to open up with a site called Legal Resources. I ask and really hope that everybody goes to that Legal Resources. The link got white.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It didn't work.
It didn't.
Oh.
No,
Legal Resources is the name of it.
Is it Legal Resources?
Google said it did not find it. I checked it. Google said we not find that link.
I may go and try to find it and send it to you again, Jason, because it has every lawsuit that's being brought forward against all the government entities, and it's got a huge array of different areas. You can go to each area and look at masks, the lawsuits about masks, lawsuits about social distancing and everything, and it's called Legal Resources. My gosh.
I clicked on it a bunch and said, sorry, we did not find that.
Okay, in our interim, Jason, I'm going to go find it and send it to you again.
Okay, so then, you know what we'll do is we're going to break now, and we'll be back in just about 5 minutes on Patreon and Subscribestar. We'll give everybody a minute to get over there, and we'll try to locate this Legal Resources site that's going to tell us about the lawsuits that people are bringing against the governors and the local state governments. So I want to thank everybody for watching, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Thank you.